Wow, the summer vacation for the OhioRAAM show is over. It's been 2 months since we've seen all of you folks out there. I hope you've had a good summer, but it's rolling to an end, and this is our 4th season for the OhioRAAM show, sponsored by the first 2 time stations for the race across America in Ohio, time stations 41 at Oxford, Ohio, and time station 42 at Blanchester, Ohio. Although the show is about more than just the race across America, we talk about a lot of things about cycling and ultra cycling, which we're going to do tonight with our guest, Sarah Cooper from Iowa. But we're just happy to have all of you back, and it's happy to be back after a little breather. It's kind of nice to take some time off and reflect on things, which I've been doing. I'm your host, Lee Kreider. And as I said, this is the 4th season, and I believe I was going to look it up right before the show started, forgot to do it. I think this is show number 97. Wow, I can't believe it's been that good. So let's go to Iowa. That other state, well, there's 3 states that have 4 letters, I believe. Utah, Ohio, and Iowa. Today we're going to Iowa and Sarah Cooper. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, we're having Sarah on here because she's made quite a name for herself in the world of ultra cycling. And I do want to take this moment before we go any further to say that where I first heard about Sarah was on by John Foote. And I started reading about Sarah Cooper. And it's a good place to get all your information about ultra racing, what it's all about. And you can see there some of the things that he has to offer on his website. But that's where I find people like Sarah, and I'm glad to have found her. We had a little chat last May, I think it was, and we were just happy to have her come with us today, Sarah. And Sarah, let's start out. Tell us a little bit about yourself, family. I know you've got children.
Yeah, I'm married. We've been married for 20 years this year. I have 4 kids, Stephen, Jenna, Kelsey, and Logan, and they are 14, 12, 12, and 10.
So you have a set of twins in there.
Yep.
And I believe your husband is in the world of reproductive science, is he not?
Yeah, he's a reproductive endocrinologist.
Well, so looks like he's brought his work home with him.
No, that was just kind of random good luck.
Very good. Well, and so you have a lot of your work cut out by just looking after these children and your husband. And on top of that, anything else you do? I almost hate to ask this, but do you have any other hobbies besides becoming a fantastic cyclist?
Well, I used to. I'm a cardiology nurse practitioner by trade, but I haven't worked for about 10 years. Once our youngest came along, she had pretty bad asthma, and I just ended up staying home. And I started out as a triathlete. That was probably my biggest hobby for a while. I like to read. I sew. I used to knit, and had some other sedentary hobbies like painting and drawing. And I really don't do a whole lot of that now, but the time will come when I have time for that again.
Well, you've made quite a record for yourself in the world of ultra cycling. Just go over a little bit, and I know from talking to you before, I have to kind of pull this information out of you, but tell me a little bit about what you've done in the world of cycling.
Well, it just started out as an extension of triathlon. I did 4 Ironman triathlons and was ready to try some of the longer cycling events, and I'd always wanted to do the 508. So I started out with a double century and did pretty well at that one.
And that's the Silver State 508 in Utah, Nevada, right?
Yes. Yeah, I did that last year. So I started out with a double century, and then I did Sebring and kind of surprisingly did really well at Sebring that year, and went on and did the 508 and won that, and have just kept going and trying new and longer events.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. I have to pull this information out of you, Sarah. You said you did pretty well. Let's tell how well you did. Do you remember? I'm sure you did. The Sebring, for
Um,
example,
well,
2014.
the first Sebring, I went into it with a goal that I wanted to RAM qualify, and I ended up setting a new course record. That was 433 miles. And then I went back this year and broke that record and set a new one. I think it was 460-ish miles.
It was, according to the little paper I have here in front of me, it was 460.6 miles. I don't know why you can't remember that point 0.6.
I
But
should have it
yeah,
carved and shown somewhere.
I, I always I always remembered those decimals. I'll tell you that. Sarah, I had Marco Bello and um, Valerio Zamboni on the show together right after Sebring, and I don't know if that was on the air at the time, but either our pre-chat or after chat, um, they were kind of amazed at your performance, and you were a subject of discussion among the international set.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, some of the other things that you've done too was kind of interesting. Oh, the thing I wanted you to talk about, um, not only did you win your women's divisions, but you came in pretty high overall among the men as well.
Yeah, I ended up coming in fifth, which was really nice. That was cool. I was pretty happy about that.
Now, one of the things I was interested in, Sarah, you do some gravel road racing. Have you done any this summer, or what other things have you done since we chatted last?
This year I'm doing a lot of gravel racing. I did. I started out with Trans Iowa in April, and it was really, really spectacularly bad weather, and nobody finished. That was my first DNF, but nobody finished. So yeah, that was quite a day. Then I went on and did the Alexander, which is a 380-mile gravel race in Minnesota. And I did well there. I placed second overall, first woman, but I got lost. And instead of doing 380 miles, I did 400 of gravel. So those are my first two events. And I just finished one this past weekend. It's called the 24 Hours of Coming, and it's a small race in Cumming, Iowa. And it's 400K that you have 24 hours to finish. And I ended up placing second overall, first woman. But it was one of those days. It was kind of a disaster. I crashed on the second loop. I broke my shifter. Just kind of all sorts of crazy things happening. But it was a lot of fun. Really great race.
Now, I don't know a lot about gravel road racing, except that it sounds kind of horrendous.
It's not horrendous.
It runs in my mind that you do that unsupported, don't you?
Some of them are unsupported, and some of them you can have some support. This one that I just did this past weekend, it's a loop course. So you go out and you do your loop, and then you come back, and then you've got your support people waiting for you in town with your bottles and stuff. So you don't have to carry everything. But for like Trans Iowa, you have to carry absolutely everything you need for the entire race.
So that other race you have a pit stop, but at Trans Iowa, you're pretty much on your own. So this interests me. Now, the one that you DNF'd, was it rain and bogged down the roads, or what happened?
Yeah, it rained way more than was predicted. I think they got over 1.5 inches of rain in 24 hours, and that just turns the roads to mush. And I think more people would have made it past that first checkpoint, because you got to make it past the first checkpoint by a certain time or you're just done. They would have made it past that first checkpoint, but there was a B road in that first 53 miles, and B roads are dirt. There's not any gravel or anything. They're not maintained. So when it rains, they just turn to mud, and you pretty much got to walk. And so everyone had to hike this mile and a half B road, and there was just no time to make it. One guy got past, and I think he made it 120 something miles before he finally was also not fast enough to make the next checkpoint. So the conditions were just that bad.
Well, I imagine you also get pretty dirty.
Yep. Yeah, this last one I finished, I was just covered in mud, dirt. when I crashed, I had blood all over my leg, and by the end of it, you couldn't even see the blood anymore under the mud.
Now, do you dress any different for a gravel race at all?
Not really. I just try not to wear a jersey that I can't replace. So, like, for our team, we have a specific kit that we wear, and I ended up not wearing the normal race kit just because I figured it would just get trashed and then I wouldn't be able to get another one until next year. So I wore just a regular jersey and something I can order another one of.
And what about your bike? You equip it any different than you would say for a road race?
It has two different, well, it has different gearing. That's really probably the biggest difference is different gearing, wider tires, that kind of stuff. So I have two different bikes that I'll ride on gravel races. One is titanium and one is carbon. And try and use the titanium for the races that I know they're going to be wet, so I don't trash the carbon frame.
So if you're on an unsupported race, give us a little idea of what you carry, how you resupply. I assume you do some resupply along the way.
So for like Trans Iowa, I have a frame bag, and I'll carry some of my fluid in there in a Camelback, and then some on the frame and the bottle cages. And then I just carry a little bit of food, and usually they're routed past convenience stores, so you just eat junk food the whole way. I tend not to carry a whole lot of snacks or food on those races. I just buy candy bars. I think for Trans Iowa last year, I probably had 9 or 10 candy bars over the course of the race.
Yeah.
Potato chips, just junk.
And I assume you have to carry tire repair and equipment.
Yeah. Usually I run tubeless, so I usually only carry one tube in the CO2, a pump, tools, derailleur hanger, just common things that I've broken in the past year. I'll usually have those spare parts along. But this last race, I'd never broken a shifter before, but my shifter cable kept popping out, and I didn't know how to really fix that other than to keep popping it in, and finally it popped out and I couldn't get it to go back in. So that's something I'll have to think about for my next race. What would I do if that happened again? Because I didn't have any means to deal with that other than to just spin along in the gear that it was stuck in. So it's an interesting challenge. There's a lot to know about how to take care of your bike and fix things. So I'm learning as I go.
I would imagine that your bicycle is ready for some good maintenance when you get done with one of those.
Yeah. Actually, this is a nearly new bike, and I broke the shifter, wore out the chain, and with the storm that we rode through, there's probably water in my bottom bracket. So I just had to take it to the shop. There's just nothing else to do. It's pretty hard on the bike.
Well, we talked a lot about the gravel because that's kind of a new thing for me. We just don't have hardly any gravel roads here in our part of the country in Ohio. Not anymore. We used to have quite a few, but they've pretty much all gone away. So what plans you got for the future, Sarah?
Well, I have another couple of gravel races coming up. I'm doing Gravel Worlds in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm doing a brand new event out in Colorado. I just stumbled across it on one of the online calendars. It's called the Iditarod. It's a gravel double century near Colorado Springs. And then after that, I threw my hat in for the Texas Time Trials and do the 500-mile there.
Okay.
And then next year, I have signed up for a race across the West.
Oh wow! Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
when I talk to you folks who've been in ultracycling, I always hesitate to ask you that kind of question, but that sounds good. So you're in the process of either have or developing a crew then.
Yeah. I've got a group of 4 right now, and yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, you won't make it to Ohio, but we'll be watching that pretty closely because we've taken quite an interest in that race as well. Some of our friends have been in that, and we're always happy to see folks enter there, and who knows what the future might bring. Now, Sarah, I after we chatted last spring, I somehow run across, maybe it's something you posted, I don't know, a TV interview of you. And what caught my fancy, maybe we talked about this before, was your training regime, which I think a lot of people would like to hear about. Tell us what kind of a training program you carry out during the week.
Well, it varies. I think most people are interested in the fact that I get up in the middle of the night to train. It just works better with my schedule. I'll get up at 2:45 or 3. This summer, now that the kids are home from school, I've been able to sleep until 3 or 3:30, which is nice. And so I'll get a couple hours of darkness riding, which is good. I mean, that's really good training, I think, to be comfortable riding at night. And then I get in what I can before my husband has to go to work, and then I come home and get the kids up, and sometimes I ride again in the evening and sometimes not, but then I'll do a longer ride on the weekends.
Well, before we went on the air, I was telling you that I used to get up regularly at 5 a.m. and ride, and I thought I was really quite the hero for doing that on a daily basis, but you, you put a whole new dimension on this thing.
Well, it happens to work out well for me, and I do have the flexibility that, if the kids are at something like dance or, one of their activities where I really don't have to participate, I just sleep in my truck. I stick my feet out the window and just get a nap while they're doing their thing. So it works out. It's a little crazy, but it's not going to be forever. So.
Now, I noticed when you raised your arm up there, little patches. That's cycling related? What you got there on your arm?
This is my boo-boo from my my crash over the weekend. This is just one of those things. I've got a big rock hole here that keeps oozing. So.
Well, like I've said so often, the people who really have performed in ultra cycling are usually pretty soft-spoken, as with some notable exceptions we won't go into, but you have quite a remarkable record. You speak so casually about 460 miles in 24 hours as though, that's just another load of laundry or something like that. But you certainly have our admiration. Like I said, I saw your name starting to pop up, and you went on my radar. And I said, there's somebody that I'd like to talk to, and I'm just so happy to see you're going to. We'll be following you closely there. Before we wind this up, Sarah, anything you'd like to share with us that we haven't covered?
Well, I think it's just I would just like to thank the people of Des Moines that have really been supporting me over the last year. I think when you first get into this stuff and people find out how far you ride, their first instinct is to just say, that is just crazy. But there's a core group of Des Moines cyclists that are just kind of over the top about supporting me and the other cyclists we have in the area. And it's really been wonderful. I have people that will, whenever the weather's bad, I'll get a text, are you out on your bike? Or the people that I know that have to get up early for work, they'll text me at like 3 a.m, you're on your bike, aren't you? There's just a lot of little support that I get that I really appreciate. So it means a lot to me.
Well, we're just happy to do our little piece to make you a little better known and give you a little moral boost. Just remember that we'll be thinking about you and wishing you the very best out there. And we appreciate that a great deal. So thank you very much for being with us here and helping us kick off our 4th season. Can't think of anybody I'd rather have do it than Sarah, and we appreciate that a great deal. And before we go, I just want to say that the OhioRAAM Show website, you can see all of our shows there that we've had over the last 3 years. And there's some other information there. You can share your email if we'll give you show notices. You can leave comments. We appreciate everybody who shares this show, who likes the show, comments on the show on Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter. That's the 3 social networks that I'm on, but I know other people share it. And we're happy to say that because of what you have done sharing the show, we know that there have been people who have become aware, not all together cyclists, but people who have become aware of ultracycling and ultracycling events because you have shared this show. We appreciate that a great deal. Before we go, we just want to say a word of thinking about a couple of people who have been on our thoughts and prayer lists, and that's Anders Tesgaard in Denmark. We think about him almost every day. And of course, Sarah Matthews in Sydney, Australia, who did not have an accident on RAM, but she was training for a triathlon, hit on by a bicycle while she was running, and we understand she's starting to come out of the coma, but we wish her well. And thank all of you for watching. We appreciate all of you and all you do for us. Good night.